You have to understand this. Boxing's like this game of life. I got beaten by Buster, right?
Is this the end of influencer boxing? Does Jake continue? You know, he's got looks like a seemingly bad injury. Both sides of his jaw broken.
That's why when he fought Anthony Joshua, I scoffed at it. I talked a little bit of because of the lunacy. And I said, someone's going to end up dead. Someone can die. 10 to 13 boxers die per year.
Mike Tyson reacted strongly after Jake Paul's knockout loss to Anthony Joshua, urging him to step away from boxing. Tyson warned that Paul is putting himself in serious danger by continuing to face elite, experienced fighters. He emphasized that boxing is an unforgiving sport where mistakes carry heavy consequences. According to Tyson, chasing high-risk matchups for attention or legacy can quickly turn disastrous. He believes it is only a matter of time before Paul suffers a severe injury if he refuses to retire. Tyson's message was clear: prioritize health, respect the sport's realities, and avoid fights that could cause harm.
I'm not good.
Jake Paul has reportedly suffered a severe jaw injury following his knockout loss, and videos circulating online show him struggling to open his mouth properly. In the clip he shared, speaking appears visibly painful, highlighting the seriousness of the damage. Fans and analysts have pointed out that this injury underscores the significant risks Paul took by stepping up to face an elite heavyweight like Anthony Joshua. The situation has reinforced warnings from respected figures such as Mike Tyson, who have cautioned that continuing to pursue high-level opponents could result in even more serious, potentially career-ending harm if he does not step away.
You have this issue now where he's got to recover, and honestly, coming from broken jaw, two sides of broken jaw is even worse, because to test it out, you're not just chewing food or talking. Your jaw has to heal enough to take impact, to spar, to be able to actually box, and not just everyday life's usage of your jaw. Like I said, to just chew and talk. So I don't know. That's why I was thinking, like, is this going to be the end of Jake, or because even if he comes back as a boxer, it'll probably could take a year, to be honest. Does he focus on his promotional company? I was thinking, the promotional company is probably one thing that I could always ride with. I never had criticism for it. Jake's promotional company, MVP, I think he's doing a lot of good things with his fighters, taking care of them, which is personally what I like. If fighters earn their money, and they should be compensated for it the right way, and a lot of promoters don't do that. But Jake has signed a lot of good fighters and compensates them very well, giving them opportunities and so on. So especially the women, but not just the women. A buddy of mine, Lucas Body's also signed with MVP. He's done well over there. So he's. I do like the promotional company. Will this maybe give Jake a chance to sort of double down on the promotional company, being that he's not going to be fighting, and put even more effort into the promotional company, and I don't know, just make this MVP platform an even bigger deal. I don't know.
Paulie Malignaggi breaks down Jake Paul's situation following his serious jaw injury, stressing a long and difficult recovery process ahead. He explains that a broken jaw on both sides is far more serious than people realize and requires complete healing before it can handle impact, sparring, or actual boxing. Malignaggi suggests the injury could sideline Paul for up to a year, raising questions about whether he will continue his boxing career or shift focus elsewhere. He praises Jake's MVP promotional company, noting it treats fighters well and pays them fairly. Paulie adds that Jake has signed real talent and runs the promotion responsibly, which may become his main priority during recovery.
Not a game. Fighting is not something you pick up and mess around with, right? If you're a fighter, if you're a boxer, if you're a mixed martial artist, right, you have to take this seriously and you have to respect the game. That's why when he fought Anthony Joshua, I scoffed at it. I talked a little bit of because of the lunacy. And I said, someone's going to end up dead. Someone can die. 10 to 13 boxers die per year. It is not a game. Now, of course, the man wants to make money and he wants to box people and he wants to entertain his fans and thrill audiences. And that's great. And God bless him. Fair play to him. The man is very, very successful. I've never talked about that. I've only talked about a 58-year-old Mike Tyson, or fighting retired, semi-retired UFC legends and then talking about them, right? All I've ever said is box someone your own age and size. And then this thing with Anthony Joshua, I was like, this is crazy. Now let's talk about the actual fight for a second. It happened in the 6th round, and it happened in a 22-foot ring. A typical ring is 20 foot. This one was 22 foot because he wanted a bigger room to operate, a bigger space, a bigger ring, somewhere to run away and be on his bike and stay away from Anthony Joshua. Now, I don't blame the guy. I'd have done the same thing, right? Because Anthony Joshua is gigantic and has the kind of power that could potentially do that to you, right? Maybe it's real, maybe it's AI, right? Either way, his face is going to be swollen today. That's a fact, right? The bigger ring gives you more space. Jake Paul did about 5 miles of road work, shot about 25 double leg takedowns because he didn't want to stand there and go toe-to-toe with him like Francis Ngannou did, because he knows what would have happened, okay? And ultimately, it ended up happening anyway in the 6th round. And yeah, okay, he's going to have the street cred of standing there and say, I went 6 rounds with Josh.
Michael Bisping highlights the inherent dangers of combat sports, emphasizing that boxing is far from a game. He notes that between 10 and 13 professional boxers die each year from injuries sustained in the ring, underlining the real-life risks involved. Bisping criticizes Jake Paul for stepping far outside his natural weight class purely for financial gain, creating mismatches that attract attention but also expose him to extreme danger. He stresses that boxing must be approached professionally, with proper training, preparation, and respect for the sport, warning that ignoring these principles can lead to serious, lasting consequences for fighters and audiences. Similarly, Johnny Nelson points out that while Jake Paul has proven to be an exceptional promoter, successfully generating massive attention for his fights, this success has come at a personal cost. Nelson praises Jake's ability to engage audiences, dominate headlines, and sell events through effective marketing. However, he also emphasizes that putting one's life on the line purely for entertainment is not admirable or sustainable. Nelson frames Jake's recent loss to Anthony Joshua as a harsh reality check, reminding aspiring fighters and influencers that promotional success cannot replace experience, preparation, or skill. Facing professional-level opponents without adequate readiness carries serious dangers. Both analysts agree that while Jake excels at marketing, the physical risks he took were significant and should never be underestimated.
It disappointed me. Whereas I didn't expect Jake Paul to go in there and just recklessly go forward and try to mix it up with Anthony Joshua. That would be like immediate suicide. That would be like running into a jet plane propeller on purpose. But there's a fine line between being defensive minded and using your ability to move and your speed and things like that, than like literally fleeing and just running around the ring like you're in a cartoon. And that's what he basically resorted to for the first 4 rounds. I mean, I guess it was effective because he stayed upright, other than when he was flopping down on the canvas. But no, nothing really surprised me. Jake got the knockout that everybody expected, and it was a pretty impressive knockout when he finally got it. It just took him longer than it probably should have to get there.
Why do you think it took him so long? It seemed at times that he wasn't throwing his right hand as much. Was it just the fact, like you said, Jake was on the back foot, it was difficult to pin him down, or do you think Joshua should have and could have finished this way earlier?
I mean, he probably could have finished it a little bit earlier. I mean, I'm willing to cut him a little bit of slack because we look at it from the standpoint of, okay, he's a physically much more imposing figure, a much better fighter, a much heavier puncher, a much more experienced fighter. This is an Olympic gold medal winner, is a 2-time unified heavyweight champion, going up against what is basically still a novice professional in Jake Paul, who, by the way, is fighting generally in the 200-pound weight class, and Anthony Joshua was a chiseled 250 in most of his fights or thereabouts. So from that standpoint, he had all the physical advantages as well as all the experience and skills advantages. So why couldn't he do it earlier? Because it's hard to catch up with a guy when he's just going to run around and never try to even take a...
Analysts have emphasized that Jake Paul's broken jaw is a serious and potentially career-ending injury. The damage, which reportedly involves breaks on both sides of his jaw, requires extensive healing before it can safely spar, take punches, or compete again. Experts stress that sick injuries are not just about everyday functions like talking or eating. They affect the ability to withstand impacts in the ring. Recovery could take minutes, and rushing back could risk permanent damage. Analysts also warned that continued high-risk fights against elite opponents could have severe, long-term consequences for Jake's health and boxing career.
Anthony Joshua couldn't have done any more. When you get in the ring with somebody that is constantly trying to just survive and run, you can't do anything about it. Our sport is built up of journeymen, like what Jake Paul did. He's trying to survive, he's not trying to engage. And so therefore, it's your job to cut him down and catch up to him. I think Anthony Joshua, it was basically open to a lot of criticism because this guy didn't come to engage. If he came to engage, then it would have been a completely different story. And I understand the frustration of the general public when they're saying they should knock him out in 1 to 2 rounds. I get that because Jake Paul is being brilliant at annoying and getting under the skin of everybody, which you really in our sport, if you can evoke emotion from the fans, you're doing a great job. So what Jake Paul did was got in the ring. I think he realised the task in hand when he stood there in that 22-foot ring. He sees an Adonis of a fighter, former world champion, Anthony Joshua in another corner, and that's when reality hit fiction. Everything he had in his head, everything he thought that he could possibly do, had disappeared, slipped out the ring with the cornerman, slipped out the ring, and he thought, wow, this is for real. And even a little jab that just gently missed it, you could see him thinking, what is this about? So it was a case of survival. And to me, I didn't want Anthony Joshua to knock him out, if I'm honest with you. I thought, you've got to make this kid have a reality check. And that's what he actually did, because Jake Paul himself said, I was shattered. You know, this guy, everything I thought I could do, I couldn't do. Boxing looks so easy on the TV. Boxing looks so, matter of fact, no big deal, until you get punched and then reality kicks in. And Jake Paul, he has done a brilliant job of promoting himself, promoting his fight, promoting the evoking human emotion. And I think he'd be a great promoter down the line because, on the undercard, you had Caroline DeBar boxing on the undercard. You had all these amazing fighters on the undercard, all the girls.
Dan Rafael comments that Jake Paul's early strategy in the fight was dangerously excessive, comparing it to running into a jet plane propeller. He explains that there is a clear difference between smart defensive movement and effectively fleeing the ring, which Jake appeared to do during the first 4 rounds. Although this approach helped him stay upright at times, it looked cartoonish and desperate. Rafael adds that the eventual knockout was both expected and impressive, but he believes it took longer than it realistically should have.
Most people can tell me is, but Jake Paul made a lot of money. Who cares? Money is a tool. Money is good. If you can get it. Hustle. But here's the thing. If someone offers you $100 million, but then if you took the $100 million, you have to pass away, they're going to take your life in 2 weeks. I mean, would you take that? So you get a lot of money and then you only have 2 weeks with the money. Like that, to me, that's stupid. So money is cool, but there's billionaires and millionaires that have lost their life. I'm sure they had terminal illnesses or whatnot. I'm sure they would give up a lot of their wealth or large portions of their wealth for their health. That's why people say health is wealth. So I'm not impressed by money. And it's so funny that you have these MAGA influencers that just lost back-to-back, Jake Paul and Andrew Tate, and their fan bases who pitch this far right and pitch this like red pill philosophies, alpha male philosophies, and like having affirmations and daily tenets and goal setting and being a real man and the difference between man and woman, all these things that these bases have been.
Liam Smith delivers a blunt assessment of Jake Paul's knockout loss to Anthony Joshua, describing the fight as disappointing from a boxing standpoint. He stresses that Jake's performance in the ring was far from professional, noting that he seemed focused more on surviving than truly engaging. Smith argues that this approach revealed a lack of refined technique, tactical awareness, and ring intelligence. In contrast, he acknowledges Jake's undeniable business acumen, highlighting his ability to attract major names such as Mike Tyson and Anthony Joshua, secure high-profile Netflix deals, and generate increased attention for women's boxing. From a promotional perspective, Jake is nearly unmatched, transforming what might have been a routine spectacle into a multi-million-dollar event. However, Smith emphasizes that despite its financial success, the fight lacked excitement and credibility. For serious boxing fans, ultimately, Jake's performance showed that while he thrives as an influencer and promoter, his skills as a professional boxer remain limited and heavily relying on survival rather than competitive excellence.